You tell yourself you're just relaxing, just watching something to pass the time. But you can feel it, can't you? The hollowness afterward. The ache behind your eyes. The weight in your chest after every indulgence. You scroll. You click. You chase the high. Pleasure without depth. Desire without direction. And each time, something sacred in you slips further into sleep. You think this is normal. Everyone's doing it. It's just dopamine, it's just fun, it's just release. No. It's not just release. It's escape. And the thing you're escaping from is your own becoming. Because what you're wasting isn't time. It's your libido, your raw, creative, sexual energy. And Carl Jung warned you. If you misuse that energy, it will turn against you. You say you're free. But are you? You wake up, grab your phone, scroll through strangers, half naked, smiling, seducing your brain with colors and curves you'll never touch. 10 seconds in, and your mind is already drenched in dopamine. You call it harmless. You call it normal. But deep down, a part of you knows. You're bleeding energy. They never told you that every craving you indulge without purpose is a ritual of self-destruction. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not doomed. You're just addicted to the path of least resistance. Entertainment. Urges. Instant gratification. The endless loop of stimulation that robs you of your focus, your discipline, your masculine energy. Your will to become something more. Carl Jung didn't see sexual energy as dirty. He saw it as divine. As the libido, a life force not limited to sex, but a psychic fire capable of creation, transformation, and awakening. But what happens when that fire is not directed? It burns the house down. And that's what's happening to you. Every click, every fake pleasure, every fleeting climax pulls you further from your potential. You're not expressing your masculinity. You're draining it. This isn't freedom. This is a trap. A velvet cage made of flashing lights, moaning pixels, empty highs, and one-night forgettables. A prison designed not to kill you, but to keep you just alive enough to never question it. But now, you're beginning to question it. And that's where everything changes. You weren't always like this. There was a time when your energy surged forward unashamed. When your desire wasn't something to be hidden, but something to be forged. But look at you now. You've been taught that indulgence is freedom. That if you don't act on every urge, you're repressing something. That if you don't express every hunger, you're toxic. That a man who disciplines his sexual energy must be ashamed of it. No. That's the lie. Because discipline isn't shame. It's sovereignty. But they don't want sovereign men. They want passive consumers. And the easiest way to break a man is to turn his sacred power of creation into a cycle of consumption. They don't need to enslave you with chains anymore. They enslave you with pleasure. Endless content. Endless fantasy. Endless release. And you chase it. Because it feels like control. But Jung warned us. When libido is not directed upward, toward growth, ambition, artistry, transformation, it regresses downward. Into the animal. Into the instinct. Into the cave. You stop becoming a man. You become a boy with access to adult tools. You forget the voice inside you that once screamed, "I was made for something more." Because that voice, the one that wakes you at 2 a.m. in quiet despair, that is your higher self calling. And it's growing tired of being ignored. Carl Jung didn't see libido the way Freud did. To Freud, libido was sexual. To Jung, it was existential. It was the current that drives all of life, not just the thirst for sex, but the urge to grow, to expand, to express. It's your drive to create something out of nothing, to leave a mark, to become who you are beneath all the noise. But when that current gets blocked, when your libido isn't channeled into meaning, it doesn't die. It distorts. It becomes addiction, compulsion, laziness, confusion, shame, obsession. It becomes you, pacing the room at midnight, tired but wired, scrolling endlessly, knowing you should be building, but feeling like you're fading. You weren't made to feel this way. You were designed to be a force, a man with vision, precision, and fire. But your libido has been hijacked. Not by fate, not by biology, but by your own misalignment. Because libido is a double-edged blade. If you master it, you rise. If you ignore it, it consumes you. You think your problem is discipline. It's not. Your problem is direction. Jung said that the libido can evolve into artistic inspiration, intellectual mastery, spiritual elevation. But it needs one thing: a higher aim. And right now, you've been trained to aim at nothing. But the moment you give your energy a direction, the moment you stop letting it spill through your fingertips and start letting it flow through your purpose, everything begins to change. You don't just feel better. You become better. Because you're no longer fighting your sexual energy. You're riding it. You are transmuting the primal into the divine. You've been told to control yourself. To fight the urge. To be strong. But they never told you the secret. The ancient secret Jung hinted at. The mystery men like Tesla, Da Vinci, and Newton practiced without naming. Sexual energy is not meant to be suppressed. It's meant to be redirected. This is transmutation. Not denial. Not repression. But conscious redirection. It's taking that same fire that once pulled you towards screens, strangers, and fantasies, and aiming it at a higher cause. When you practice transmutation, you stop chasing women, and women start feeling your presence before you even speak. You stop trying to impress the world, and start impacting it. Why? Because your libido is no longer fractured. It's no longer dripping out in private moments of shame. It's building pressure. It's concentrated. And that concentration creates clarity. Suddenly your art sharpens. Your ideas deepen. Your gaze hardens. You become magnetic. Not because you seek validation, but because your very presence carries intensity. This is not a myth. This is physiology, psychology, spiritual alchemy. When you withhold your sexual release and transmute it into action, your body produces more testosterone. Your brain rewires for focus. Your ambition skyrockets. You speak slower, deeper, more deliberately. You stop leaking power. You start becoming a vessel for it. This is what Jung meant by individuation. A man who no longer serves his instincts blindly, but confronts them, integrates them, and rises above them. Your sexual energy was never the enemy. It was the engine. You just never learned to drive. The first week is war. You feel the pull, the itch, the cravings. The habits you've carved into your brain come crawling back, begging you to slip just once. But you don't. You breathe. You observe. You hold. And something strange begins to happen. Your eyes sharpen. Not just in sight, but in vision. You see through things. The distractions. The lies. The empty pleasures that once enslaved you now appear laughably small. You speak less, but when you do, people lean in. You feel restless, not with anxiety, but with unspent power. The sexual energy you once spilled casually now rises through your spine like electricity looking for a circuit. And you begin to channel it into your art, your goals, your workouts, your voice. You walk differently, more rooted, more alert, more present. You begin to notice women noticing you. Not for your words, but for your presence. It's not a gimmick. It's not a trick. It's biology. Your body is no longer in a state of depletion. Your hormones stabilize. Your posture realigns. Your skin glows. Your mind clears. This is not placebo. This is what happens when your life force returns to you. And it's only the beginning. Because the longer you retain, the longer you resist the downward pull of compulsive indulgence, the more potent your creative fire becomes. Jung called it the urge toward individuation, the natural push of the psyche to become whole. And now, you're no longer chasing momentary pleasure. You're pursuing completion. You've stopped leaking. Now it's time to start building. Because transmutation is not just about resisting. It's about creating. Deliberately. You are no longer a reactor. You are becoming an architect. And an architect needs a blueprint. What do you want to build with this energy? A business? A masterpiece? A legacy? You have the raw power now. But raw power without form is chaos. So give it structure. Give it vision. Start mapping out your mission, day by day, brick by brick. Not to impress anyone. Not to escape shame. But because you now understand. This energy is holy. When Carl Jung spoke of libido as a creative force, he didn't mean just in art or ideas. He meant in identity. You don't just create things with it. You create yourself. You begin to practice what he called individuation, becoming the whole version of who you were meant to be. Not a copy. Not a performer. Not a slave to collective trends. But a fully awakened man aligned with his soul. This is where masculine energy takes root. Not in domination. Not in force. But in directional will. A man who transmutes his libido doesn't fear temptation. He's too busy building kingdoms from his desire. Every moment you withhold from indulgence becomes an offering to your higher self. Every time you feel the urge and choose action instead of escape, you reinforce the truth. You were not made to chase. You were made to become. And now you are. They call it freedom. They say, do what you want. Follow your urges. Don't deny your nature. But look around. Are men freer than ever, or more enslaved than ever? Enslaved to screens, to strangers, to cheap dopamine and easy attention. Chained not by force, but by belief. This is the myth of modern sexuality. That to indulge is to be free. That to hold back is to be repressed. That freedom means never telling yourself no. But here's the truth. Unquestioned indulgence is not freedom. It's dependence dressed in pleasure. Jung saw it coming. He warned of what he called the collective unconscious, the inherited beliefs of the crowd. Absorbed without question. Lived without reflection. You've inherited a script. You were taught that masculinity is toxic if it restrains itself. That pleasure is a human right. That sexual discipline is either religious shame or psychological denial. They never told you that it's actually power. They never told you that men who change the world don't do it by emptying themselves every night for comfort. They do it by holding, channeling, creating, becoming. You've been tricked into trading your kingdom for a few moments of forgettable escape. But now you see the trick. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You don't need more pleasure. You need more purpose. You don't need to be more sexually free. You need to be more spiritually sovereign. The world doesn't want disciplined men. Because disciplined men are harder to control. Harder to market to. Harder to manipulate. You don't feed on fast food, fast pleasure, fast entertainment. You build. You focus. You lead. This is why transmutation isn't just a practice. It's rebellion. You've tasted the absence of control. Now taste the presence of power. When you begin to transmute your sexual energy, you don't just feel different. You become different. Your thoughts sharpen. Like a blade honed in fire. Your confidence grows, not the shallow kind that needs validation, but the quiet, immovable presence of a man who owns his energy. Your eyes become still. Your handshake firmer. Your walk grounded. People don't know what changed, but they feel it. You've become magnetic. Because you're no longer starving for attention, you are full of yourself. In the best way. Your creative energy explodes. Ideas flow in. Your execution improves. You start building the things you once only dreamed of. Your discipline spills into other areas. Diet. Fitness. sleep, focus. You stop wasting time. You start respecting it. Because time is life force. And now your life force is sacred. You stop being ruled by emotion. You begin to master it. Because you've stopped giving your power away to screens, urges, and strangers. This is not superstition. It's ancient wisdom validated by modern experience. It's what every great man in history understood, even if they never said it aloud. You are not here to empty yourself. You are here to build yourself. And what you gain when you channel this energy is more than productivity. It's presence, peace, clarity, purpose. You stop asking for permission to be great. You stop apologizing for being intense. You stop waiting to be saved. Because you realize you were always the fire. You just forgot how to burn upward. This journey isn't easy. And it was never meant to be. You will be tempted. You will be mocked. You will feel alone at times. Because the world worships indulgence. And laughs at restraint. But Jung didn't write for the masses. He wrote for the few. The ones who feel something deeper pulsing beneath the surface. The ones who sense that life is more than pleasure, noise, and comfort. The ones like you. You who have suffered under the weight of your own potential. You who have numbed yourself to survive. You who have glimpsed, if only for a second, what you could be if you stopped draining your fire and started honoring it. This is not about celibacy. It's about sovereignty. This is not about shaming desire. It's about mastering it. Because when you do, when you stop fearing your hunger and start shaping it, you will awaken the man you were always meant to become. Not a beast chasing gratification. Not a slave to cycles of shame. But a creator. A man who knows what he carries inside. A man who walks into rooms and changes them. Not because he speaks loudly, but because his silence holds weight. That is the fruit of transmutation. Not just power. Not just purpose. But presence. You will build. You will lead. You will love with clarity. Because you are no longer fragmented. This is the sacred discipline. To hold what the world squanders. To protect what the world laughs at. To rise in a world addicted to falling. So hold the fire. Let it burn through the false self. Let it refine you. Let it forge you. And become, not who you were told to be, but who you were born to become.